Good evening, everybody. Welcome along and thank you for watching. This should be a meeting that we would be having in person. Unfortunately, for obvious reasons, we can't do that. It's the first of our hopefully fairly regular Ofsted parent updates. We did these quite regularly once a term up until March, and then the pandemic happened. That phrase I'm using a lot at the moment. We can explain more about that in a second. I'm going to present my screen to you. Not that one though, Mr. Green. No. Oh goodness. So it's that one there. And then I can do this and this. Okay, so this is our October update. We will be able to do some more updates as we go through the course of the year. And the aim of the meeting today is to outline some of the changes that we've made in the 12 months since the Warrener Multi-Academy Trust were asked to come and support the leadership of Southfield. We're going to spend quite a lot of time explaining the new curriculum, what it looks like, how it's structured, how it can support your children, and what some of those intervention programs are going to look like moving forward for some of those students who need to do a little bit of catching up. And we're also going to spend some time talking about the remote learning plans. If we need to, and heaven forbid we don't have to, but should we need to go back into to some sort of lockdown, then we will talk a little bit about what some of those plans look like. So just to give you a brief update, in case you've forgotten, the leadership team within the Multi-Academy Trust supporting Southfield, obviously myself. I've been in headship for 6 years, in leadership for 10 years, and involved in education for nearly 20. Dr. K, who is often around visiting Southfield once a week at the moment, and I meet with her every Friday morning. Has 20 years experience of school leadership, and has been at Warrener for more than 10 years. I've worked with Dr. K for 8 years. We've got the Trust School Improvement team, who are 3 very experienced head teachers, kind of working behind the scenes, supporting some of the work that we're doing, and obviously our School Improvement Director, Steph Lovett, who's been into school. She was in earlier on this week, so she's working alongside us as well. And then our Senko, Rachel Cosgrove. I know some of you have met Rachel already. Some of you working alongside Rachel to support your children. Rachel's is nationally recognised as a practitioner of outstanding practice for special educational needs. We are very lucky to have her on the team. Rachel, this is a little plug for your book. Rachel's just released a fantastic new book about how we can support students who have some special needs in the classroom. It's a really, really great book. We've appointed a new governing body. So the governing body are made up mostly of parents of the school currently, and they bring with them a whole range of experience from the business world, from a legal perspective, from a financial perspective, and also some of those governors have experience of running and being in schools, and having a really good understanding of what schools look like and how that should work. So we're very grateful to those governors. We've been meeting quite regularly throughout the course of the year, including the lockdown period. We had several meetings, Zoom meetings, during the lockdown period. And actually our first governors meeting of this year is due to happen next week, where the governing body are going to receive some training around what Ofsted inspections look like. And then we've got some policies to sign off, and some other bits and bobs to crack on with as well. One of the very first things that we did was to complete a safeguarding audit and update all of the systems and processes that were involved in safeguarding of the school, and we reflect the trust's outstanding practices. Now, Dr. K, Annabelle K, is the chair of the Oxfordshire Children's Safeguarding Board, and again, we're very lucky to bring that experience to Southfield. So that's the leadership team. In terms of teaching and learning, we have back quite early on, kind of November time last year, we did a complete review of the school values, the school vision, the strategic kind of what do we want the school to look like in 5, 6, 10 years time. We're going to underpin all of that work that we're going to do with our new school values, which we created together. So the staff had some input into this, and their thought and ideas. This word genus is Latin. It means kind, and then each letter has a value that sits with it. So the G is, give as good as you go, be the best version of yourself, be at all times, be as good as you can be. And then the E, everyone insist on excellence. This idea that the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. So, we're looking for excellence in everything we do at all times, and we're not going to accept anything less. N, this idea that nobody is left behind, that we are all here to help and support each other. And that's us helping the children, it's us helping the staff, it's us helping you as parents, to get the very best out of everybody. And this understanding idea that the U of genus is all about recognizing that everyone in our school is unique, and everybody has their own beliefs, their own history, their own personality that makes them them, and that should be celebrated. And so we know that that's a really powerful way of supporting each other. And this S, this idea of self-belief, we have to believe that we can be successful. We know that success is hard, and getting and being successful is going to be difficult, and we might come across some really challenging work and some really difficult things that we have to try and get around. But by working together as a trust and as a group of people, we can be successful. And those 5 ideas underpin everything in our school. You can read more about them on the school website, so please go and take a look on there as well. We have more information about what our strategic values look like, our strategic vision. We've got some more information up there about what we've described as our 6 pillars. So the kind of 6 things that also underpin what we do as well. So please take a look at the website. In terms of just other things that we've done to improve teaching and learning over the course of the last 12 months, we have an entirely new comprehensive data tracking system which is up and running. The tracking of data and the tracking of student progress across the school prior to our arrival last October was inconsistent. It meant that it was difficult to prove that students were making progress when we knew they were, but it was just difficult to be able to prove that. The data tracking system that we have in place now it's a system that we use across all of the schools within our trust. It's based on the highest expectations. So we set challenging targets for our children, and we hope and we support those children to be able to achieve the very highest standards. What we've seen already is that by very carefully tracking the student progress data and attainment data, we are allowing children to make significant progress already. As I mentioned earlier, Steph Lovett, our school improvement partner, was in school on Tuesday this week and has noticed just how much progress some of our children have made, certainly in the last 12 months, but more so in the last month since we came back from the summer break. It is remarkable. I will share in a separate meeting, I will share what that data system looks like. We're going to touch on data at the end of this meeting as well, just to show you how the things that we put in place have made a difference to the data and what it looks like. We also created a comprehensive professional development program for all of our teachers, in fact, all of our staff. So most of when we run a professional development workshop, it's not just teachers that come to those. We invite everybody because we know that everybody deserves that professional development. And so we have across our trust a program of professional development which we have rolled out across Southfield, and the staff have taken that CPD and used it to really good effect to improve their own practice and to help upskill each other. We know because we've done we've done the research within our trust schools. We have a very clear strategy about how to improve reading, writing, and writing particularly, but also maths across our trust, our school as well. And Steph Lovett is going to be putting together a little a parent masterclass of what that looks like in practice, so that you have an idea about the kinds of things that are going on within the classrooms where your children are. So that will be coming out very shortly. But needless to say, the professional development that we put in place has made a huge difference to the capability of our staff, as how good they are at doing their job, and also help the ethos of the school, where this idea that we're all learning together and we're modeling that to the children, and it's making a real difference. Okay, the curriculum, the nuts and bolts of what we do day to day in and out of school. When we arrived prior to October, I think it's fair to say, and I'm sure that my colleagues and probably some of you would agree, that the curriculum was very weak. It hadn't been thoroughly planned. The links between the subjects they didn't really exist. Nobody really knew what they were meant to be teaching when. So the very first thing that we did when we arrived is I sat round the table with members of staff from each phase of the school, and we thrashed out an entirely new whole school curriculum, which you have seen and shared, and I've shared that with you already. We based it around high quality children's literature, because why would you do anything different? The development of reading, the teaching of reading, the understanding that reading and the ability to do it, but also the love of it, is the key to unlocking the rest of the curriculum. You can take a look at that whole school curriculum again on our website. We're going to talk a little bit more about that journey. Just briefly talking about English and maths. So our English teaching, we work with our colleagues from CLPE, so that's a Centre for Literacy in Primary Education, to support the planning and teaching of our English work. So all of those sessions that we plan, all of those units that we plan that sit with those texts, those stories that we've decided to use, are all planned out and supported from resources from CLPE. And all of that work is underpinned, as I mentioned just now, this Warren and Matt strategy that we've developed over a course of a couple of years, and we know it makes a difference to the outcomes in reading and writing. Parent masterclass, as I've spoken about just now, which Steph will host and share electronically with you, will help you understand what that looks like in practice. In terms of support for spelling and reading, we've got some very bespoke packages that we're about to launch, and they're all set up. We're just currently going through the process of assessing all of our children throughout the entire school. So we have this online package called IDL, which is a maths and spelling package specifically to support those students who find spelling particularly tricky. And so we're screening everybody, because what we might find is that that might pick up some students who maybe slipped under the radar. And then we can launch some really bespoke packages to support spelling for those students. And the IDL spelling package is a responsive program. So as the children complete the tasks that we set for them, the program responds to the bits that the children have got right, or some of the words that the children have got wrong, and it builds the next stage to help support those areas for development that it's recognizing that those children need to practice. So it's a really powerful package. It's used a lot actually at secondary school. And Rachel Cosgrove, who I mentioned just now, is a huge fan of IDL. And so that's all set up in our school. And we'll be running that and assessing our children in the next week or so to get that set up. In terms of other supports packages for spelling, we are rolling out across the whole school something called Spelling Shed. So that's a new online package which makes the learning of new weekly spellings. There's a bunch of online games that the children can play. They can collect points. It can be done on whichever electronic device that students have, but we'll also do it in school as well. So we teach the children the new words, we give them some practice, we play some games with them, we've got some work for them to do, and it works on a weekly basis. So again, that's being rolled out in the next week or so. We're just having some issues with some of our databases which aren't quite syncing up properly at the moment, but that will be up and running as quickly as possible. The students will bring home a little login card, which gives them their unique login number. So look out for those, because that's coming as well. In terms of maths, we use White Rose Maths Hub. Most schools across the country actually use White Rose Maths Hub, and that's the people that we used during the lockdown period. White Rose are a fantastic organisation, support schools nationally. They have built what they've termed their recovery maths curriculum, and what that has allowed us to do is to recap some of the learning that the children did during the lockdown period, to make sure that where those gaps might exist, that we've just got a bit of time to fill those gaps back up before we begin teaching new content. What we've discovered is that recovery curriculum is very, very good. The children have made fantastic progress in maths. We've got some expert resources that we're sharing with them, and they are beginning to make some real good steps forward in terms of our maths. The other bonus of using White Rose Maths Hub is that if we were to end up in another lockdown, the home learning package that they've built sits with the school curriculum that they've also built. So the transition from school learning to home learning would be seamless, which is exactly what we want. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about what the rest of the curriculum looks like. So all of the other subjects that aren't English or maths. And over the course of the lockdown period and in the first part of the summer term, myself, Mr. Elliott and Miss Onions sat down and kind of created and built on the basic curriculum that the team put together back in November and January. We've designed that curriculum with writing opportunities right at the heart of it. So we want children to be using science and geography and history and art to be doing writing at length. Obviously, there's other stuff that fits into that. So, you know, science, there's lots of practical science experiments. There's lots of artwork that goes on in art. There's lots of design technology work that can go on. But there's writing that sits with that as well. So it's about writing in context. A little bit about the journey in terms of curriculum development. It was all redesigned back in the 7th of October, actually last year. It's about a year ago that we sat around the table for the first time and put it together. We trialed 2 units of work in year 5 and 6 during term 2 of 2019, so up until Christmas, just to get a sense of what potential difference it could make. And the data showed us that actually made a massive difference in terms of attainment and progress of the children. And then we finished that curriculum, the basic curriculum redesign, and rolled it out across the school in January 2020. And we were just getting going with it. And then the pandemic hit us. And that just meant that all of that work just paused while we all got used to a completely different way of working in terms of what was going on at home, and you know, just trying to get through that period and not really knowing what was coming next. It was quite difficult to get people around the table to continue that development work. But back in July, when we managed to get the whole school back, as I said, Mr. Elliott, Miss Onions and I, we sat down and we really carefully mapped out and put detail on specific subjects. I'd like to share a little bit about what that looks like with you, to kind of give you an idea about the level of thought that's gone into what our curriculum looks like. So this is an example from our history curriculum, and what we've done for each of our subjects is to link an inquiry-based question to that topic, because we want the children to be curious. We want them to go away and try and answer questions about stuff. So every subject has an inquiry question at the heart of it. So if we look at this example here, we've got year 2, term 4, which is castles, and the question, why did castles become such a prominent part of England? Now that question in term 4 of year 2 builds on the work that year 1 have done already in the first term of year 1, where they have the question, was there ever a castle in Brackley? As it happens, yes, there was, and year 1 will be able to tell you all about it. And so we have this idea that the questions build up over the course of the 6 years that the children are in school. And so while they are investigating new things, they're recapping knowledge that they already have. We know that children learn best when they revisit stuff. It gets to come over it over and over and over again. And by learning to be able to recap knowledge, recall knowledge from your long-term memory, it enables you to make more progress. And the science of that is really, really, really key. So what I'd like to do is follow this theme of castles through the year group. So we've got, was there ever a castle in Brackley in year 1? Why did castles become such a prominent part of England? And then where we then have in year 4, we're looking at the Norman conquests, and well, where did castles come from? And then that leads through again into year 5 and year 6. But we have this idea that knowledge is recapped and built on year after year. But it's a bit deeper than that as well, because we have taken, specifically with history, we've taken this idea that in order to understand the importance of something, you need to know the origin of it. So, for example, in year 6, where the children are learning about the Black Lives Matter movement, the American Civil Rights movement, Martin Luther King, and that element of American history, students can't understand why that's an important thing without first understanding about the slave trade and the history of the west coast of Africa, and why James Somerset is such an important person. But they can't understand why that is, the west coast of Africa is an important element of history, without understanding that invaders are a really important aspect of history. So that's how it all kind of links together. It's all layered up over a number of years, so that we give students a really rounded view of the world. And that kind of idea sits in the science curriculum, it sits in the geography curriculum, the history curriculum, the art curriculum, the music curriculum. And it's something that I'm incredibly proud of, because it's, you know, there's a lot of thought has gone into this from professionals who, you know, have got your children's 8 years of your children's lives essentially, and we want to make sure that we give them the very, very best deal. All of this is on our website, by the way, so if you want to go and have a look and see what it looks like and see what kinds of questions that the children are going to be learning about and understanding about, then please feel free to go and take a look. We take those inquiry questions and then we put them into some schemes of work, so into a syllabus. So this is year 3, for example, where we're looking at, let's say year 3 in term 1, the Stone Age to the Iron Age. The national curriculum, which is the document that we have to follow, has a very clear list of the objectives and the skills and knowledge and understanding that we should be teaching the children. So what we've done is we've taken our key questions, we've mapped those key questions against what the national curriculum say in terms of knowledge, understanding and skills, and we've made sure that we are covering everything that needs to be covered. So we build up on that into year 4, and then same in year 5. And again, all of this is on the website, so please feel free to take a look at it. And we've done this for every subject, and you know, it's all there. So please feel free to go and take a look at it. I'm really proud of this piece of work. Of all the changes that we've made at Southfield in the last 12 months, this is the thing that I'm most proud of. And we are already seeing the benefits of this curriculum in our school. I mentioned earlier that the progress the children have made since they've come back in September to now. That's because, or part of that at least, is because the children are so fired up by what they're learning about. I'm just going to go back to that one just very quickly, where we've given teachers a brief outline of the objectives that need to be covered, we haven't dictated to them exactly what they should cover and how those sessions should look in practice. What we've said to them is, we expect you to be able to teach these things, but how you teach those things is entirely up to you. You've got to make sure that you do cover those objectives, however. With design technology, it is slightly different. We have given our teachers the plan that they have to teach. So in design technology, each year there are 3 projects that the children will complete, which are detailed. So this is the year 5 example, where we have in term 2, the first design brief is to design and make a battery-powered merry-go-round for a model Victorian village, which sits in with their learning about the Industrial Revolution and the Victorians. The second one of those units is in term 6, where the students are learning about the Vikings, while the design technology project is to be able to design, build, test and evaluate a model of a Viking longship. And we expect them to be actual longships. We're going to get the wood, we're going to build it exactly as the Vikings did. We want them to be able to see if they can make those boats float. And then there is one other design technology project, which is a food-based technology project, where the children will be using their food skills to be able to create some kind of culinary masterpiece. And who knows, we may have the next winner of MasterChef among our ranks. Who knows? But what we've said to staff is that third design technology project can fit with whichever unit of work it sits with best. So for example, in year 6, where the children are learning about the Greeks, the ancient Greeks, they might decide to make some Greek-based food, or where the children are learning about in year 4, are learning about the ancient Egyptians, we may decide to make some Egyptian bread or some wheat bread, exactly like the Egyptians made 3,000 years ago. So staff have that little bit of freedom to decide where that food technology project is going to go. And again, these DT projects are already making a difference to the kind of writing that the children are doing in their classrooms. What you will see if you take a look at some of those documents on the website is this idea that we will introduce some new learning, some new skills, some new understanding, and then maybe a term later we might recap some of that learning that we've already done, and then we will apply those knowledge and skills in a different context. So the first time we come across something in a particular phase of the school, staff know that the children won't have been taught this thing yet. So it's new knowledge. So how do we make sure that we structure our lessons and take into account that the children have not come across this bit of learning before? But where the students are recapping knowledge, but we may be putting it in a different context, for example, when we're looking at our planning, we know that the children have come across stuff. So we should be able to get them to recall some of what they already know and then build on that knowledge and understanding during those few lessons where we are coming across that knowledge again. And maybe the third time that we come across that knowledge, maybe a year later, we know where we're applying that skills, that those students have mastered that bit of knowledge or skill, and they are able to apply it in a different context. So here's some examples of that. This is our year 3 geography curriculum. So you'll notice that some of the objectives have got introduced, highlighted in red, and that will be the first time in that phase of the school, in the lower key stage 2 phase of the school, where those elements of the curriculum are the first time they've come across them. The yellow headings there are the recall headings. So we know, for example, in the topic magic magnets, where we are recalling the use of the 8 points of a compass, 4 and 6 point figure grid references, and so on and so forth, that the students have already come across that once before, so they should know what to do and how to do it, so we can move our learning on a bit quicker. Towards the end of the year, we have this idea that we are applying the skills that we've been learning throughout the course of the year in a different context. So, for example, where we were looking at, where we're looking at geology rocks, for example, in term 3, and we are locating the world's countries using maps and so on and so forth. Well, that's a recall, so we know that children have already got those skills. And then in term 5, where we're looking at the life of plants, and we're potentially looking at a different part of the world in a different context, but we know the children have those skills before. So let's just double check that they actually are absolutely sure that they've got those skills, give them a different context, and then assess them and make sure that they know what they're doing. Each one of these units has some assessment documents that sit with it, and a lot of those assessment documents take the form of kind of low stakes quizzes. So we might quiz the children 5 questions at the beginning of a topic just to find out what they know, different 5 questions at the end just to make sure that they are happy. When we're recalling some of this work that they've done before, let's sort those questions and those assessments on what the children learned maybe 2 terms ago to see whether they can recall it. So we're constantly teaching new things, assessing new things, giving the children an opportunity to show us what they can do and what they know. And that builds up over the course of 8 years from nursery right up until the end of year 6. And again, this is just an example of the year 4, of what the year 4 geography curriculum looks like. And you can see that idea again, where we're introducing concepts quite early on in the year. And through the middle of the year, we're recapping some of that work. And by the end of the year, we should expect those children to absolutely have nailed those skills and be able to apply those in different contexts. So to kind of sum up, I suppose we have all of the subjects for all the year groups. We've completely mapped all of the objectives from year 1 to year 6. For those of you who have children in reception and nursery, we are still using the early years foundation stage documents as the basis for our planning, but we've linked high quality texts to that planning as well. But the foundation subjects run from year 1 to year 6. They are completely mapped. They are all on the website for you to take a look at. We have ensured that there is a progression of skills, knowledge and understanding built into each subject and over each year, and where we've been able to make those meaningful links between those subjects, that's exactly what we have done. And all of this curriculum development is underpinned by the very latest research in terms of what good curriculum design looks like, but more importantly, how the science of learning, the science that says, how do we make sure that children really retain the knowledge and understanding that we are teaching them over a number of years? It's all underpinned by that research. And staff have had professional development in that research, and they know that science, which is where this curriculum has come from. And it's something I'm incredibly proud of. In terms of PE, RE and PSHE, those subjects tend to sit kind of on their own. They're often quite difficult to link into particular subjects because of the nature of the content that we have to teach. So PE is led by Mrs. Thompson. We have invested in an entirely new scheme of work, which we use across a number of schools in the trust. We know it's effective. We have assessment materials that sit with it, and that's already being used across all of our schools, across all of the year groups in school. We've invested heavily in new PE equipment. We've spent, close to £3,000 on new PE equipment specifically to support the launch of this new scheme of work. So we're really, really happy about that. In terms of RE, religious education, because we are a Northamptonshire school, even though we are an academy, we still have to follow the Northamptonshire agreed syllabus. And, that is rolled out across the school. Mrs. Veery has taken on the kind of leadership of RE across our school, and she has developed a curriculum which is utterly wonderful. We've picked the bits of that agreed syllabus that we're allowed to pick. We've made those links with some of the subjects, some of the history and the geography work that we've already got those links with. We are now adding this layer of RE into that as well. Where we are unable to make those links, then we haven't. We will teach that unit of RE work as a kind of standalone bit of learning that we will do. We don't want to make superficial links between subjects because then the learning is not meaningful. In terms of PSHE, personal social health education, we use a new scheme of work that we've launched and is now over across all of the schools in the trust. It's called the SCARF set of resources. We use them across all of our schools. They are aligned with the new national guidance around sex and relationships education, and Mrs. Metcalf is leading the rollout of that work. And again, those resources are mapped from year one to from early years right up to year 6. There's a bank of resources that we use, and all of that work is already being done in your class, in the children's classrooms. So we've made some really, really good progress in terms of curriculum design, and as I said, it's the thing I'm most proud of. Just in terms of other areas of things that we have changed and things that we've helped to improve and supported development of, obviously early years was one of the areas in the Ofsted report which Ofsted were harsh, I think. So the very first thing we did was we talked to our staff. We looked at what was going on in the environments in terms of provision, and we identified the strengths that were there and the areas for development that were there. We reviewed those. We used that to inform a professional development program. We allowed our colleagues to go and see what high-performing early years units look like within our trusts. We completely redesigned the assessment and tracking system for our students' data within early years, which didn't exist before. So it was really, really difficult when Ofsted arrived to look at what early years were doing. It was difficult for our teachers to be able to demonstrate the progress the children were making over time. And what we've been able to show is that actually provision was good, teaching was good. The data backs up that the children make exceptional progress from their starting points right up until when they leave reception and go into year one. Generally, children who arrive into our nursery class are often working below their age-related expectations, and the provision and the 3 years through our early years unit up until the end of reception, we are able to demonstrate that those children either leave working at their the age-related expectation or beyond. So they start below and they get to beyond their age over the 3 years, which shows that the children make exceptional progress. And we're able to demonstrate that now where we weren't able to demonstrate that before. So I'm really proud of our early years team. They've done a fantastic job, and they have a really secure understanding of what fantastic early years practice looks like. So good on them. One of the things that we're going to be doing moving forward, we need more students, and we've done a very good job of recruiting more students into our school. Last year, we recruited 33 additional students into our school across the school, which has been really, really good. What we need to do now is put a big focus on recruiting students into our nursery and our reception class. So we are relaunching and rebranding specifically our nursery class. So obviously they've moved classrooms to give them a little bit more space and make them a little bit more self-contained. And we are going to name that element of our school Chestnut Grove Preschool. So Southfield Nursery is a name that we will be retiring, and we are opening Chestnut Grove Preschool. Now, for you folks who are already in the nursery, nothing changes except the name above the door. For folks who are new, who don't know that our nursery exists because it's part of the school, so those folks out in Brackley or further afield potentially looking for nursery and preschool provision, do a search for that and come up with all the other preschools and nurseries within Brackley, but don't find us. Now, we know that we do a good job and our data shows that we do a good job, so why aren't we getting the children in? It's because nobody knows we exist. So by rebranding with a new name, named after the horse chestnut trees that sit in our playground, excuse me, with a new websites, new logos, and new social media, and really pushing the fact that we are an amazing preschool within the extensive grounds of Southfield. We think that what we will do is be able to recruit more children into our nursery. We know that when the children get into our preschool and our nursery, that they don't leave. Those children stay in our school because they know what kind of great deal that we get. So we need your help to do that. So we're officially opening on November the 3rd, which is the day after October half term. And what we are able to do, and what I will share with you in the newsletter this week, is the new website, the new Facebook page, the Instagram feeds, and all the other social media stuff. And I would like you to be able to share this amazing element of our school with people who don't yet know that it exists. Get the word out. Let's get our nursery back up to 30 children in it so that we can secure a big intake into reception in September 2021. I can't emphasize how important it is that we find and recruit more children. The way to do that is obviously with a great curriculum that we've designed through the school, because that will attract students further up the school to those year groups where we have some space. But we've got to recruit more younger children further down the school, and we do that by getting our children into nursery. So please share this news with as many people as you can. In terms of some of the other elements that Ofsted picked up in its report in terms of welfare and behaviour, behaviour has improved. We know there's still work to do. Developing brilliant habits is the next element of our improvement of behavior. So we've got our core values underpinned by this idea of being kind and kindness. We've got our class dojo reward system. We expect the highest levels of behavior. So for example, when the children are walking through the corridors to get to lunch, we expect that to be in silence. We expect children to hold the doors for grown-ups. We expect them to say please and thank you. We expect them to wait patiently if a grown-up is having a conversation and they need to talk to us. But equally, we expect that of them to each other as well. We want people to be kind to each other. We want people to show them respect. We want people to be able to engage with each other. I am beginning to, I am running in 2 classes in our school, something that's called Philosophy for Children. It's a PSHE type activity where essentially we respectfully argue with each other, but the idea is that we teach children how to be able to agree or disagree with each other in a respectful and kind, democratic way. And so I started that. Well, I'm starting that work this week with year 2 and year 5 as a trial to see how it's going to go. So I do a little mini research project on what the impact of that is going to be. And so I will share with you in our next update. I will share with you the outcomes of some of that work. We do not tolerate bullying in our school, and where that has been raised while we've been here, it's been dealt with immediately. And the children, as a result, they now tell us that they feel safe in school where they didn't before. Playtime generally is much calmer than it was. We still have the odd bit of rough and tumble where we're still trying to get into the students that actually, is that an appropriate way to be playing this game, or could we find a different way to play it? And if we can't, should we find a different game to play? And so there's still a little bit of work to do there around playtime and potentially upskilling some of our support staff who work at playtime as well. But the improvement in behaviour it's been huge. It would be no lie to say that when I arrived in October last year, the children didn't know how to line up in a straight line. They would talk over adults all the time. They would argue with each other. There was fighting. There was racist behaviour, sexist behaviour. All of that is gone. And what we're doing now is kind of putting the icing on the cake in terms of behaviour that we expect. We need to go from being good, which is where we are at the moment, to being exceptional. We need to develop brilliant habits. That's what we're doing with the children. What we've seen, certainly, behaviour in lessons is impeccable. Steph Lovett, our school improvement partner, visited classrooms this week, and there was several classrooms where every single student was getting on with the important job of learning, where 12 months ago that wouldn't have happened. And that level of expectation exists across our entire school. So children are learning more because there's more time in a day to be able to learn, because we're not spending ages sorting out behaviour issues, because the children know that classroom time is learning time. Just in terms of outcomes, just very quickly, we'll finish off with, well, we've done all of this stuff to make the school better, but what does that look like in terms of outcomes? So the graph on the left here, the whole school outcomes. So this is where we look at the data of all of our students over the course of the past year. What percentage of them are at the expected level for their age or beyond? So we're kind of looking mid-70s, top 70s in the individual subjects, but the important bar to look at is the RWM graph, the reading, writing and maths graph. So that is the information that says a student has achieved the expected level in reading and writing and maths. So they are strong in all three subjects. So when we look at that across the whole school, we're 66%. The national average is 63%. A year ago, it was at Southfield, it was less than 40. The year before, it was 38. So we have made a huge jump in terms of students working at the expected level for their age across the school. Schools are measured based on their year 6 outcomes. So the end of primary school assessments, how successful has the school been in teaching these children through the course of their life in school? And these are our year 6 outcomes for the summer. The dark blue line are the national average numbers. The big bars are outcomes for Southfield students. So we can see, look, 80% of our year 6 students achieved the expected level in reading, 75 in writing, 75 in maths, and the reading, writing and maths combined figure, which is the important one, we were above the national figures. So that's really, really strong progress from where we were. The next table, which is this one, shows just how much of an improvement we have had in the 12 months since we took over. So this is the 3-year trend data. So in 2018, on the left, you will see EXS, which is the expected standard for the year, for your age. Less than 40% of our students in school were reaching the expected standard for their age. Nobody in our school was working at greater depth. When in a local authority, which is Northamptonshire, we were 60% and 7% GDS, where the national figure was 63 and 9. So we were miles behind in 2018. That gap closed ever so slightly in 2019, but it's still way below where the national figures were. Where we look at 2020, 9 months after the Warren and Multi Academy Trust took over the leadership of the school, we are now up to 70% of our students reaching the national expected standard in reading, writing, and maths. So all 3 subjects, that's the key measure. And we've got 70% of our student, which, if we compare that to 2019's national average, is just above the national average. Where we look at the students achieving a greater depth of understanding, we are well above the national average. So that shows that actually what we are doing and what we have done has led to some phenomenal improvements in terms of our student outcomes in a very short space of time. The predicted outcomes for 2021, so that's next summer, when our cohort of year 6 students leave our school, the predicted outcomes are that we will have between 85 and 90% of students achieving the expected standard for their age in reading, writing, and maths. So that will be significantly above the national figure. And it's the same for greater depth of understanding as well. It's going to be significantly above the national figure. So that is really, really positive in terms of outcomes for our students. Now, the difficulty is, of course, that we get to that point where our outcomes are consistently above the national average, and then we have to make sure that we maintain that level of success. And so we get this culture in school where it's constant improvement. What do we need to do next to make things better? What can we do next? What comes next to keep the improvements coming? And that's going to be a really, really exciting journey for sure. Folks, look, I've thrown a lot of information at you there. I hope that you found that useful. If you do have any questions, obviously this format makes questioning quite difficult, but if you do have any questions about anything moving forward into what the next 12 months are going to look like, or anything about what you've heard so far, please email me them. If you can get them to me before Friday the 16th, what I will then do is take some of those questions and then I will respond to those questions in another video like this, and then I will share that with you so that we can pick up any questions that you folks at home may have. In the meantime, I would just like to say a huge thank you to you for all of your kind words, for your continued support, for your suggestions about how we can improve things, for your challenge where you think we've got stuff wrong, and that you and how you can help us improve, because this is a collaborative effort. It can't be just school. We have to work in partnership. And I feel like we have a really good partnership. And I want to thank you all for your incredible support over the last 12 months. It's been a real privilege taking over the reins at Southfield. And I am looking forward to the next 12 months. I want to say a huge thank you. And if you have any questions, please drop me an email. I will talk to you soon, everybody. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.